Bem-vindos, revolucionários do amor. É uma honra enorme estar aqui do lado do Christopher Wallis, também conhecido como Hareesh. Ele é autor do livro O Tantra Ilumindado, que já tem tradução em português. Em inglês você encontra ele como Tantra Illuminated. Ele é estudioso de sânscrito, acadêmico e também pratica Tantra da sua forma não dual há mais de 30 anos. É uma honra enorme estar aqui do lado dele. E eu vou fazer algumas perguntas. Se você está assistindo isso, escutando e você não entende inglês, vai para o vídeo porque eu vou pôr legenda.
Amor é revolucionário. E se não for para ser, que não chame de amor. Esse videocast é um espaço de liberdade, sexualidade, educação espiritualizada sem rótulos e zero gratiluz. A base de toda real revolução é o amor e amor é espiritualidade para todos.
So, Hareesh, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. My first question for you is about a personal feeling that I have since I started in this path of spirituality. In all the paths that I went, it was really messy about female and masculine, especially in people that say they teach Tantra, but most of the time they teach in Neo-Tantra. So I felt manipulated to do exercise with men. I felt shame about my sexual orientation for being a queer person or a non-binary person. And I thought that was really confused because people are treating like Shiva is like a man, Shakti is like a woman. So I really would like to say what the tradition says about that.
Well, the people who are teaching Neo-Tantra, and usually they're just calling it Tantra, they are giving people the wrong idea actually, because in the original tradition, always non-binary people were honored as well. So the scriptures talk about men, women, and non-binary people. There's a Sanskrit word for that even, napumsaka. And also, one of the most important deities in classical Tantra is Ardhanarishwara, who's the deity half Shiva, half Shakti in one body. And so, in fact, this binary opposition, or polarity as they call it, is not a feature of classical Tantra. And yes, there is a sexual ritual in classical Tantra, which is different from what the Neo-Tantra folks teach. But it's specifically mentioned by the greatest master of Tantra that non-binary people can also do that ritual. So the idea that it always has to be about polarity, it's a modern idea. It's not an ancient idea, or, so people just speak as if they have authority to talk about the ancient tradition that they don't even know. So that's a little bit sad, because in classical Tantra, the tradition honors what is. It honors reality. And so, non-binary people feel, I don't identify as one or the other, and that is natural in them, right? So we need to acknowledge that is part of nature, and this tradition honors nature. So what we want to be very careful never to shame people for how they naturally feel, who they're attracted to, all this kind of thing. So why does polarity not matter in the original sexual ritual of Tantra? Is because the ritual is not about, creating a connection between two people. It's about having an inner experience of liberated awareness, okay? If connection between two people happens, great, that's also fine, right? But the original sexual ritual was not about sexual pleasure or excitement or anything. It was just about having this expanded experience of consciousness. And if you're feeling any slight sense of shame or lack of safety, you can't have that expanded experience of consciousness. You have to feel safe and honored and be able to honor the partner, and that matters way more than how they present in their orientation or anything like that. So in that way, I would say the Neo-Tantra scene has fundamentally misunderstood the purpose of that original sexual practice in Tantra.
I'm gonna ask more two things. One is most people talk about chakra and somebody who has a vulva and appendage are different. And I know you have beautiful courses about it, like the one that I'm doing right here. But if you can summarize how we misinterpreted some things in condition to the classical Tantra, and what that would be my first question.
Yeah. Well, in classical Tantra, there are many lineages which sometimes have different teachings, but in almost all the lineages of classical Tantra, there is no difference in the energy body associated with a male physical body, or associated with a female physical body, or associated with, intersex. Yeah. The energy body is not different. Why? Because physical body is more superficial level of reality. Energy body is deeper level of reality. And we're all human. We all have the same basic energy body, and of course can vary from person to person, but not by gender, right? And gender is mostly, as we know, a social construct. So there's another important mistake, because in the Neo-Tantra scene, they're taking physical body to be more fundamental. And we believe, no, energy body is more fundamental. So in, I would say, 95% of the tantric lineages, they don't acknowledge a difference in the energy body according to the assigned gender of the physical body, okay? So, and that just makes sense. In fact, when we're all the tiny baby in the womb, we all start out with the same sex, so at that deeper level, we have this oneness. So if you hear, oh, the chakras are different and for the men and women, no, that's a modern idea. We don't find that in the ancient sources. It's just used by some modern Neo-Tantra teachers to justify what they're teaching, but it's not true. And we need to get the right information out there. So thank you for helping with that.
Yeah, just for this last thing, it's really important that people understand that Tantra is not about sex, and that's not the goal, and that's not, so how many percent of the Tantra classic we have? And sometimes you say there's a lot of teaching about like you can find that states running, or even I heard you say there was like putting a piercing.
In fact, the original tradition prescribes many ways to experience expanded consciousness.
Yes.
And so let's first understand there's a difference between experience and realization.
Yes.
The realization is when you recognize your true nature. And an experience is an opportunity for realization. So we keep exploring the experiences until we recognize our true nature. And that's not an experience, that's deeper than experience. That's something more important. But we try anything to create the expanded awareness so that we can recognize our true nature in that state. Oh, I'm not just this body, I'm something more. And so the tradition says, do whatever works, like, it could happen during sexual expression, but that's just one in a long list. It could happen in running, you transcend your ordinary sense of self. If you run long enough, it could, like you said, they say pierce some part of the body, maybe not the ear because it doesn't hurt enough. Maybe the nipple or something, pierce, and then for a moment, you go beyond your sense of self. But you shouldn't do it unless it works for you. You know what I mean? It's not the tradition saying everyone should do this. No. Do what works for you. So it gives all these many possibilities. Also meditation, all these different kinds of meditation. Like trying to find the mind. You think the mind exists? Okay, where is it? And then you can't find it. and then for a moment you go beyond the mind.
Yeah.
You know, many topics like that. So, just to be clear also, and one thing people get confused about, Shiva means, in this tradition of Tantra, Shiva means consciousness,
yes.
not a male deity, and Shakti means energy. And these principles get personified as deities, but those personifications are metaphorical. They're symbolic. They shouldn't be taken too literally, you know. So actually we're exploring consciousness and energy. And so we shouldn't get too caught up in the metaphors, and that will help people access the real truth more.
Yeah. Yesterday you said a really beautiful thing, that every teaching and thought should be like invitation, and also that the truth cannot be spoken. So everything is an invitation for research, something like that.
Yes, yeah. Every teaching in this tradition is not like a belief that you should accept, but it's an invitation to explore something for yourself,
Yeah.
to find for yourself. It's when your personal experience verifies the scriptures or the teachers, that's when you trust it, you know. But we offer these invitations from the tradition because it enhances our experience of life to explore in this way. And the tradition is so fluid, you know, that's what I appreciate about in modern times. We have concept like gender fluid. The tradition is saying, actually all reality is fluid, not just gender, you know.
Yeah.
And if we can experience the true fluidity, then we're more free. We're not stuck in the box.
Stuck in the box.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for all of this, and I want to invite all of you. Hareesh is keeping a promise to come to Brazil. So I'm gonna say in português. O Hareesh está dizendo que vai vir para cá para fazer um treinamento, e ele invocou mulheres para fazer, e eu falei para ele para que a gente invoque também pessoas trans, pessoas da comunidade LGBT, para partilharem desse conhecimento. É realmente imperdível estar na presença dele, e recomendo a todos vocês a estarem aqui ano que vem.
Obrigado.
Thanks.